Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take just one single verse from the Quran, but we're going to treat it like an archaeological dig. This is a deep, archival dive, forensic analysis, really, of its traditional commentary designed to unpack every single layer of meaning. So let's jump right in. And here it is. This is the verse that's going to be our entire focus. Surah Al-A'raf, verse 11. You look at it and it's just one sentence. But within this single sentence, wow, there is a whole universe of meaning. We're talking about a primordial narrative, the story that sets the stage for everything. It establishes where humanity comes from, the honor we were given, the true meaning of obedience, and, crucially, the very first act of arrogant rebellion. For the next little while, this verse is going to be our entire world. Okay, so how are we going to tackle this? Well, to really do this verse justice, we have to be systematic. Think of it like a roadmap. First, we'll look at the verse as a whole. Then we're going to zoom in and break down those two key actions, creation and forming. After that, we'll get into the divine command to prostrate and see how the angels responded. From there, we'll turn to the absolute heart of the conflict, the defiance of Iblis. And we're not stopping there. We'll then explore the theological fallout. And then, and this is really fascinating, we'll see how this ancient primordial story connects directly to specific acts of worship practiced today. All right, first things first, let's set the stage. It is so important to understand that this verse, it's not just a line of text. Think of it as the opening scene in the grand drama of humanity. This is where it all begins. It's the moment that defines the relationships between the Creator, us as human beings, the entire angelic realm, and, of course, the forces of rebellion. This is the story of our beginning. Now, what's so cool about this analysis, and this is key to our whole approach today, is that we are not just giving you our opinions. Our entire breakdown is grounded directly in a classical, scholarly commentary on this exact verse. We're going to walk through it together, phrase by phrase, really digging into the exegesis to understand the full weight of every single word. We're going for every granular detail here. So the verse kicks off with two really specific, distinct divine actions. First, and we have certainly created you, and then, and given you form. Now, you might think those sound pretty similar, right? But according to the commentary we're looking at, they are absolutely not the same thing. There's a sequence here, a profound difference in meaning. So let's break down each one. Okay, the first term we hit is khalaqnakum. We created you. The root here is khalq. And this isn't just making something. This word signifies the primary fundamental act of creation itself. We're talking about bringing something into existence from absolute nothingness. It's the foundational act, that divine command that starts the whole process. This is the very beginning of everything for humanity. Right after that initial creation, the verse says, Sawarnakum, we gave you form, or we fashioned you. The term is taswir. And this is where it gets really interesting, because it shows a completely separate second divine act. So if Hulk is like the initial spark of existence, Taswir is the artistry that comes after. It's giving that existence a specific shape, a unique form, a particular image. This is about bestowing upon humanity its unique and honored structure, both physically and spiritually. So a really important question comes up here. When the verse says you, who is you? Is it just talking about Adam? Well, the commentary is crystal clear on this, that you, the kum in Arabic, it refers to all of us, all of humanity. God is speaking directly to every single one of us across all of time. And you might ask, well, how can that be? It's because the creation and the shaping of Adam, our ancestor, contained the potential and the reality of all his descendants. It's like this, when you honor the root of a tree, you're honoring the entire tree. By addressing the ancestor, every single one of us is being addressed. Okay, so humanity is now created and given its unique form. And right here, the whole narrative takes a sharp turn. A command is issued. Then we said to the angels, prostrate to Adam. And just like that, we arrive at the moment of the first great test. But what's so critical to understand is that this test, it wasn't for Adam. It was for everyone else in his presence. Now, we have to be absolutely clear about something because it's a major point of theology. What was this prostration all about? The commentary really hammers this home. This was never, ever a command for the angels to worship Adam. That's impossible. All worship is for God and God alone.
Instead, the prostration was an act of respect and honor towards Adam, but it was really an act of pure, absolute obedience to God. Adam was the direction of the prostration, but God was the reason for it. It was the ultimate test. Would they obey a direct command from their Lord, no matter what that command was?
So the command is given. What happens next? How did the angels respond? The verse is so powerful in its brevity. Fasejdu. So they prostrated. And that little word at the beginning, fa, in Arabic, is so important. It implies immediate action, no delay, no hesitation, no debate. Their obedience was total. It was universal. It was instantaneous. They heard the command and they complied. It's a perfect demonstration of their complete submission, and it sets a perfect, stark contrast for the dramatic exception that's about to happen. And here we are. This is the moment that changes everything. This is the core conflict of the verse, and you could argue, the core conflict of the entire cosmic drama. You have this scene of perfect universal obedience, and it's shattered by one single defiant figure. Except for Iblis. So, let's really dig in and analyze the singular act of rebellion, using our source material as our guide. إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ لَمْ يَكُنْ مِنَ السَّاجِدِينَ. That phrase is the pivot on which the whole story turns. It injects dissent into a scene of what was, moments before, perfect harmony. Iblis actively separates himself from the entire community of the obedient angels. He makes a choice to go down a different path. And notice the wording. The verse says he was not of those who prostrated. It's not just that he didn't do it. It implies something deeper, a fundamental change in his very being. So you have to ask why. What was the motivation for this catastrophic refusal? This is where the commentary is so insightful. It shows us that the external act, the simple physical refusal to bow down, was just a symptom. It was the outward sign of a deep internal sickness. This wasn't an intellectual disagreement. This was a rebellion born from and fueled by kiba, by arrogance. He looked at Adam, made from clay, and looked at himself, made from fire. And he thought, I'm better than him. It was that internal state of pride and jealousy that exploded into this external act of disobedience. And this is why the source is so precise in how it defines the kufr, the disbelief of Iblis. And this is fascinating. It's not that he denied God existed. I mean, think about it. He was having a direct conversation with him. His kufr was the rejection of a divine command simply because of his own ego. He acknowledged the lawgiver, but he refused the law because he felt it was beneath him. And right there, that is the absolute essence of this kind of rebellion, placing your own judgment and pride above a clear, direct command from the Creator. But the story doesn't just end with that act of disobedience. Of course not. An act like that has profound, rippling consequences, and the commentary explores these consequences through a really important theological concept known as wasila, which is all about the legitimate ways, the proper channels for approaching God. So let's define that term. What exactly is wasila? You can think of it as any legitimate means that God himself prescribes for his creation to get closer to him. It's a designated path. And in that crucial, pivotal moment in the story, the prostration towards Adam was the designated wasila for the angels. It was the specific path to obedience laid out for them. By taking that path, they drew closer to God. And by rejecting it, Iblis didn't just disobey. He defined himself and was cast out. From there, the commentary broadens the lens. It uses this idea to outline other forms of wasilah that are available to us. For example, we can seek closeness to God by calling on him using his own divine names. We can seek it by acknowledging the incredible status he's given to his prophets and righteous servants. Or we can present our own good deeds as a humble plea for his favor. You see the theme? Each one of these is a prescribed path of humility, which is the absolute polar opposite of the path of pride that Iblis chose. Okay, and this is the part where this deep archival analysis becomes incredibly practical and tangible. The commentary doesn't just leave us floating in the realm of abstract theology. It brings it right down to earth. It connects all these huge themes, obedience, humility, seeking closeness to God, to a very specific, recommended act of worship, a physical practice that allows a person to embody the humility of the angels. Specifically, the source text pivots to a discussion about devotions within the sacred month of Rajab, and it zooms in on one particular time, the very first Friday night of that month. This night has a name.
It's known as Laylat al-Raghaib, which you can translate as the Night of Wishes. It's considered a really powerful, potent time for seeking God's favor and asking for forgiveness.
And the commentary doesn't just mention it, it gives meticulous step-by-step instructions. It starts with fasting on the first Thursday of Rajab. Then, in that window between the sunset and night prayers, you perform a special prayer of 12 units. And as you can see, it's very specific about what to recite in each unit, certain chapters, a certain number of times. After all that is done, the prayer itself concludes with a special salutation recited 70 times.
And here, this is where it all comes full circle. The entire ritual culminates in that one pivotal act of profound humility, prostration. After you've done the 70 salutations, you perform 2 separate, long prostrations, and during each one, you recite a very specific supplication 70 times, asking for purification and forgiveness. This physical act of putting your forehead on the ground directly mirrors the beautiful obedience of the angels, and it stands as a complete and total rejection of the arrogant refusal of Iblis. And just so you can see we're sticking to the source, this entire detailed ritual is laid out right here on this page from our archival document. We wanted to show you the guidance directly from the text itself to really drive home how these incredibly deep theological ideas get translated into tangible, physical acts of devotion.
So, after all of that, we're left with a final question to reflect on. We've taken this incredible journey all the way from the dawn of creation down to a specific prayer on a specific night in the month of Rajab. We've seen this fundamental binary choice presented to creation, humble submission or arrogant defiance. And so the final question really isn't about them. It's about us. How does a deep understanding of this primordial choice, this fork in the road between the path of the angels and the path of Iblis, inform not just one special prayer once a year, but every single act of devotion we perform every single day?